Hello, students. Welcome back to your science class. In the last class, we were discussing uh, the topic air pollution in your chapter number 12, that is our environment. And today we are going to move forward with the same chapter, and then we are going to discuss about water pollution in this class. So, children, as you all have already understood what is air pollution, or rather the pollution in a broad sense, that whenever any unwanted substances is added up in the natural resources, which disturbs their quality and also causes harm to the living beings, or rather the environment around. So that is your pollution. And under pollution, we have already finished with your air pollution. Today we are discussing about water pollution. So let's move forward. Firstly, I would like to explain you all about water pollution. And uh, water pollution, this is contamination of water bodies. Contamination meaning it is like disturbing the water bodies. It may be the lakes, the rivers, the oceans, aquifers, and even the groundwater. So any kind of water body, if it is getting contaminated, then it is termed as water pollution. And when does it occur? This occurs when the pollutants are either directly or indirectly discharged into the water bodies without the adequate treatment to remove the harmful compounds. Okay, so if anything is getting added up to your water bodies, okay, let's say suppose the plastics, it is getting uh, drained drained in the let's say the drainage system, and from there the drainage system ultimately it goes to a larger water body, so it has entered a lake. So over there we see that the lake is filled with plastics. So the is causing some like problem in the water body, which is the lake. So this kind of things are the pollutants. They are either indirectly or directly discharged into the water bodies, and there is no adequate treatment for it. Okay, so adequate treatment in the sense like there is no proper facility to make this pollutants less harmful for the water body. So in such cases we term it as the cause of water pollution. So it is the addition of any substance having a negative effect on the water or the living things that depend on the water. So from the picture itself, you can understand what the water pollution is, right? So in this picture you can see, and even here you can see, so lots of things are being released in the water body that is having a negative effect on the water. So all these things that is present here will make the water very unfit for use, right? So it is having a negative effect, okay, on the living things that depend on water, and also the quality of water will be degraded because of addition of such substances. So the what negative effect is on the water also. So this is what is your water pollution. Now, moving further, we have the sources of water pollution. What are the sources from where or what actually causes your water pollution? The first one being community wastewaters. So, community wastewaters meaning that um the waters coming from our home or from our households. We are using water on an everyday basis to take a bath right from the morning, to wash our face, to brush the teeth, to take the bath, cooking purposes, cleaning the house, even in the toilets we are using it, right? So we see that a number of things we are doing on an everyday basis with the help of water. Now this water, like if you are taking a bath, you're taking the bath with the help of water, soap, or in some cases people likes to use shower gel and all those things, which are in which are filled with chemicals to a certain extent, right? So what happens when you're taking the bath is that you are using the soap and what soap and all along with water, and the water uh, after use it is getting drained into the drainage system, which further moves and goes to the other water bodies. So what is happening, the water bodies is getting the waste from the like from a neighborhood or a household. Okay, so we live in a neighborhood, we live in a community, and there are lots of houses like this which where the people are using all the things that I mentioned earlier on an everyday basis. They are also doing it in the same way. That means the community is also responsible for water pollution in a way. The next one is the industrial waste. You all have seen in the previous uh, classes also under air pollution when when we were discussing about the smoke being released from the industries and factories. At that time, you all had also pointed out the fact that the industrial waste is also released into the water bodies, right? So industrial waste are also one of the sources of water pollution. Along with that, we are having agricultural sources. Agricultural sources, as we had discussed in under air pollution, the agricultural sources like the fertilizers and the insecticides or pesticides, when it is added up or when it is sprayed on the plants, so what happens is that the plants are getting it. Along with that, the soil is also getting the chemicals, right? And when there is a watering of the plants or whenever there is rainfall, so these chemicals gets mixed with the rainwater and also seeps into the soil, thereby it is entering our underground water table also, and even in some cases it is entering the larger water bodies as well, thereby causing water pollution. The next is underground water pollution. So as I discussed about agricultural sources, under this only we can take underground water pollution also as a factor. Okay, and then there is marine pollution. Marine pollution meaning that the like you might have seen that the water bodies, even we have seen Mahananda river in our like in our Siliguri area also, how it is filled with uh, like the dirt, right? Even the plastics and all, you can see that there are lots of plastics being thrown there. Okay, so this causes your marine pollution. The next one is your thermal pollution. Now thermal pollution, thermal meaning related to temperature. So thermal pollution, it is happening uh, because of your factories and industries also. Okay, so because the water that is coming out from the exhaust the water that is coming out from the factories, okay, after it is being maybe even if after being treated, so it will be little bit uh, high in temperature than the water body that is outside. So what happens when this type of water is being released from the factories is that the animals, okay, that lives in the water bodies, they will die because of increased pollution. So this is also there, which is contributing to water pollution because it is disturbing the natural quality of the water, thereby causing problem to the living beings. Okay, so sources of water under that we can see here on this next picture: sewage and wastewater, the waste coming from the homes and all. Marine dumping, as you can see from the picture itself, you can understand that the marine dumping, like whatever is there, like in as I gave you the example of Mananda river, that the huge number of plastics we can see, even the uh, clothes and all those things is dumped into the water body. Next is your industrial waste. Industrial waste we have already discussed, right? That the waste coming from the industries maybe it is solid waste also, it is sometimes like dumped into the water bodies. Radioactive waste, now this one means the waste that is highly uh, disease causing and all, okay, very much harmful, very much poisonous for the living beings. They are also sometimes like they are also dumped into the water body. The next one being oil pollution. Now this happens in cases of bigger or larger water bodies where the like in case of oil fields and all, we see sometimes that the oil spill has taken place, right? Or the ships that were carrying the oil, okay, so sometimes it may so happen that there is leakage or there is some accident taking place and the whole water body gets like oil spillage, because of which the living beings like you know that the oil floats in water, right? So because of that, what happens is that the living beings under the water body will be unable to like breathe, and then they can die as well, because those oil spillage will be in a larger area. It depends upon how like generally the spillage takes place, the oil pollution takes place in a larger area. So the living organisms or the animals living under the water will get affected. Underground storage leakages, so this happens in uh, cases of our household tunnels and all, okay. So in our cases it is not very much prevalent, but in much more advanced cities and all, you see that they have got underground storage and all, okay. Even the tunnels and all are there through which the water body the wastewater of our household flows. So in such cases what happens, sometimes it may so happen the tunnels are leaking, so because of that also there is your water pollution. Then we have atmospheric deposition. So in the atmospheric deposition, here we need to understand that in case of your like in case of air pollution, what was happening was that the in the industries or the vehicles were releasing the smoke into the air. Now what happens is that in the smoke you're having different greenhouse gases and all, right? There is carbon monoxide, there is sulfur dioxide, and so many other things. So what happens is that when they are mixing with the air, they're also mixing with the clouds and all. Over there it is mixing up with water, water droplets and all. So what is happening, the compounds, different compound molecules are getting mixed, and then they are forming nitric oxides and sulfur oxides and all. So it results in formation of a weak acid, and when the water falls along with this weak acids, it is called your acid rain, which is very much harmful for the living organisms on the planet. Okay, so that is about your atmospheric deposition. Next one, global warming. Global warming, as you know that uh, global warming is a very vast topic and very hot topic. Like in today's world we have learned about global warming, or we discuss about global warming each and every day, or each and everywhere we see this topic, right? So what or how it is causing your water pollution is that, as you know that in context of global warming, we mean to say that there is an increase in the temperature of the whole globe or the whole earth, and this is happening because of different types of pollution. So what happens is that as the global warming is taking place, because of this your temperature of the water is also rising, okay. So because of that, the animals, the plants that are there which lives under the water bodies, okay, they are getting affected because the temperature that is rising of the water body is not fit for their survival. So that is why global warming is also coming under the context, okay. And then we have eutrophication. Now eutrophication means that um, in certain water bodies what happens is that uh, the um, the water bodies is loaded with the pollutants, and these pollutants makes the environment very much favorable for algae and all to or certain plants to grow. And what happens because of their growth, they are covering the entire water body. Okay, the greenish thing, sometimes it, you might have observed it in your, in some lakes and all also, uh, and or the ponds and all. So what happens here is that the temperature becomes very much sorry, the nutrients are there which makes the makes the environment favorable for the growth of certain type of plants. So the plants are covering the entire upper part of the water body, thereby creating less area for other plants, other important plants to grow. Other plants are dying. Okay. And also the water body becomes unfit for some animals to live. Why so happens is because they are taking these plants are taking the entire space or entire upper part of the water body, because of which it becomes very difficult for the other living organisms to survive there. So that is your eutrophication. Now moving further, we are going to see the causes and effects of water pollution. So as we have discussed just now also about the causes, we have deforestation, oil pollution, agriculture, wastewater, radioactive substances, and thermal pollution as the causes, which we have discussed just now, right? Like deforestation, cutting down of trees, that leads to water pollution as well, because when you're cutting the trees, you are making the soil very prone to your uh, soil erosion and all. Along with that, the water can also get polluted, like your oil pollution, as I was discussing with you all. The oil pollution, the oil spillage takes place in water bodies. Agriculture, the the farmers, they are undergoing agricultural practices. They are adding fertilizers, they are adding pesticides and all to keep their uh, agricultural produce safe and in good quality. But what happens is that these chemicals are being added to the plant, but it is entering the soil and the water as well, because the water will seep inside along with the chemicals that was there in the soil. Okay, next is wastewater. As we had talked, wastewater is coming from your homes on an everyday basis, which is then getting added up to the larger water bodies, hence causing water pollution. Radioactive substances, these are very much dangerous substances. These are the chemical substances which should not be like exposed here and there, but in certain cases it so happens that these radioactive substances are also being added up with the in the water bodies, thereby causing water pollution. And thermal pollution means the wastewater coming from the factories and all is, which is of a higher temperature, is released into the water body nearby the factories, which affects the animals and the plants that is surviving in the water body. Now, what are the effects of your water pollution? If all these are the causes, if everything is leading to water pollution, what can we expect will happen to the people, uh, like, or rather the animals and the plants who will be affected because of this water pollution? What are the effects that we can see? First is waterborne diseases. So if we are going to consume, or even if we are going to like get exposed to water pollution for a longer period of time, we may have to face the problems such as waterborne diseases like cholera, typhoid and all. We may have to face this problem. Next is water shortage. Water shortage, why? Because since the water is getting polluted, that means the water is not fit for consumption. We cannot drink that type of water, right? So we may have to face water shortage also, because there is no more water for drinking. The next one, no safe drinking water. So water shortage and no safe drinking water can be called as interrelated. Like if there is shortage of water, why there is shortage of water? Because the water is polluted. We cannot drink that water. We cannot use that water for, like if a water is there which is filled with waste, okay, so can you use that water in any way? Like, do you think you can use that water to drink, or do you think you can use that water to cook food? No, obviously. So there will be shortage of water. And also no safe drinking water, like if a water body is filled with fertilizers and pesticides, so would you like to drink that water? Obviously no. So that is why no safe drinking water. Next is marine life extinction. Now, as we had discussed about marine pollution, right? The um, plastics, the clothes, even the waste products from the house, everything is getting dumped in the marine area or the water bodies. So in such a case, what happens? The animals that is living there, it becomes very difficult for those animals to live, to survive. So in such cases, many animals die also. So many species may be there which are very much like having struggled to survive in such an environment, so they die. And if every, it's like if a particular species, all the animals of that particular species die, then it obviously means that they have become extinct from this world. So also marine life extinction happens in because of your water pollution. Now let's talk about industrial effluents. What is industrial effluents? Let's try to understand. The wastewater that is discharged from the industries, as the name itself is suggesting, industrial meaning from the industries, and effluents meaning the water or the wastewater. Okay, so wastewater that is discharged, that is coming from the industries, that has got harmful chemicals which are released into the water bodies. Okay, so you can see from the picture also how the effluence, industrial effluence, affects your water bodies. So any wastewater that is coming out from the industries and which contains harmful chemicals, and they are released into the environment or released into the water body. So the first picture you can see how the water is being released from the, or rather the industrial effluence is coming out. Here you can see a real life picture which shows that the wastewater that is released from the industry is causing the change in the water body. You can see this is very filthy, it's really foamy type, right? You can see here also, once the water is released from the industry, it is causing the foam formation. Here also you can see the water being released. So the industrial effluents are the wastewater that is coming out from the industry, having harmful chemicals that are released into the water bodies, which damages or which disturbs the water body, and this makes the life in the water body, as well as we the human beings and other plants and animals on earth as well, we are unable to use this water anymore. So these are your industrial effluents. Now industrial causes of water pollution. You know that the industries produces a lot of waste products, right? So they cause water pollution also in a huge manner because of the activities that happens in the industries. So they mainly like this mainly comes from the sulfur, which is a non-metallic substance and is harmful for marine life. So you can see here in this picture, as I was telling you all about the acid rain. So what happens? The smoke is released, right? The sulfur is being like sulfur is there, or sulfur dioxide is there in the air. So when the clouds are being formed along with the water droplets, so when evaporation takes place, you know that water droplets are there. Sorry, evaporation takes place, water vapor goes up, right? And when condensation takes place, the droplets of water is the one that is being like clumped together and forming the clouds. So in such a case, when condensation is taking place at that time, the sulfur dioxide, which is released in the air from the factories, that is forming sulfuric acid. Okay, so when these clouds rain, or rather when the rain comes from such a cloud, then your acid rain is, this is the acid rain, because sulfuric acid is an acid, right? So these will cause harm to the plants and also the animals likewise. And also the as it is like released to the earth's surface. So ultimately you know that whenever there is any rain taking place, the rainwater will enter into the larger water bodies. Even the industrial effluents that we had talked just now, they are also released into the water body directly, thereby increasing the pollution. Now let's see more in detail about the industrial pollution. Okay, so use fresh water to carry away waste from the plant and into water bodies. The waste that is produced by industries can get into the water supply, and then they can contaminate the water bodies also. Radioactive and toxic materials from the industries, the acid rain which falls into lakes, streams and ponds, that lowers the overall pH of the waterway and kills vital plant life, affecting the whole food chain. So you can see a number of things can happen. The waste from the industries can enter into the water bodies. The waste can get inside the water supply system also and contaminate our water bodies. The radioactive waste can also be released into the water bodies, and then the acid rain that we were talking about just now can enter any kind of water body, be it lakes, streams or ponds, and that will kill the plant life in the whole ecosystem, the whole food chain also. So these are some of the impact your industrial pollution is having on industrial water pollution is having. Okay, now water pollution is also uh, like effects from mining. Like we all do mining, like it has, or rather the mining is being done from a long time, right, from the past time. Now the continuous mining is also affecting water bodies. Why it is? Because you can see in the pictures here, the different pictures show you the real scenario of the mining. So acid mine drainage. So you can see when you are doing mining on a large scale, what are the things that is happening? The acid mine drainage is happening. That is, the acids is being released from the mines into the drainage system. Heavy metal contamination. As you are doing mining, that means the ores, the raw form of uh, substances are being extracted. So in such a case, it may so happen that because of continuous mining, heavy metals may be also released, okay, from such mining, and then the contamination of the water body takes place. Next is sediment and erosion. So as you know, the mining is like a tunnel or something like that is there, and then over there we are digging every time. So this can lead to erosion also, thereby causing problem and resulting in water pollution. And the next one is your processing chemicals pollution. So what happens is that the chemicals may also be released, which is also really leading to pollution of water. Mining pollution, it is mining is extraction of minerals and metals from the earth. You all are very much familiar with this. The ores that is recovered by mining, they include the metals, the coals, the gemstones, right? So mining pollution occurs when the mining generates large amount of waste discharges into the environment. So as I was telling you, all the mining is done so that we can get the raw materials, right, to our other use. But what happens is that sometimes it happens that the discharges, the waste that is uh, released because of your mining is very high. In such a case, your mining pollution takes place. Mining of stone and metal has been recorded since prehistoric times, and mining is of also two types, that is surface mining and underground mining. Coal mining pollution, and you can see here gold mining pollution. So the pictures show you how the mining on a large scale is affecting our water bodies. So surface mining, be it surface mining or be it underground mining, but still in some way or the other they are like affecting our water bodies. Okay, so gold mining pollution, how the gold mining is causing pollution. You can see the water body, like the color of the water body is changing in both the cases, gold mining as well as coal mining pollution. So this is how your water bodies are getting affected. Now talking about agricultural pollution, you all know very well that when agriculture is practiced by the farmers, what do is they use the fertilizers and the pesticides, right, so that they can like keep their crops or their uh, farm in a proper manner. Like why the fertilizers are used to keep up with the deficiency of some important chemicals. Okay, because you know that the same land or the same soil is being used for growing the crops every year. So it so happens that the fertility of the soil will be decreased, but the farmer needs to produce the same amount of crop every time. So that is why he is using fertilizers and pesticides and insecticides. Why do the farmers use this? So that they can kill the germs or control the growth of some pest. And the pest can be anything. It can be virus, it can be insect, it can be herbs, anything. So in order to protect the crops, he is going to use these chemicals. And when the chemicals are being used, it will lead to pollution, because it is added to the plant, it is sprayed on the plant, some amount gets mixed with the soil also. So as I had already explained that the um, thing that is released into the soil when the water, when you uh, water the plants, or whenever there is rainfall, these chemicals are getting mixed with the rain water, and it is seeping into the soil, or it is getting like discharged into some nearby water bodies. So that is how your agricultural uh, waste is also leading to water pollution, how the pesticides and the fertilizers are affecting the water pollution or leading to water pollution. Here we are having agricultural runoff causes water pollution. So I was telling you all about the agricultural runoff also, that like how it is causing the water pollution is that the extra extra fertilizers, extra pesticides that is being used. Okay, some extra things may be there. Even uh, there is a passage for the water, as you can see in the pictures, right, this one. So whatever is, like once it is once the field is watered, the what some amount of water may be released in through the uh, agricultural runoff area also, and this gets mixed with the larger water bodies, so hence the water pollution, leading to water pollution. Next one is your oil spillage. So oil spillage, what happens is that in oil spillage, you can see here in the picture that the oil has been released from the ship, right? So there may be some problem in the ship when it was traveling in the water body. So it has some problem, and then some amount of oils has been leaked out, it has spilled. So what happens in such a case? In the water body, the oil is like floating on top. So because of that, the animals living underneath, they will be unable to like breathe in, and because of that they can die. Even the oil can cause the death of many fish, and they can also stuck to the feathers. Like some animals or some birds are there who stand on the like on the water bodies, right? Like the cranes and all we have seen. So in such a case, if they are standing here and if the oil spillage takes place, then the feathers of these birds are like getting caught off with the oil, and thereby sticking to their feathers and causing them to lose their ability to fly. So in such a way also the oil spillage is leading to oil pollution and damaging the animals and the plants of the water body. Next is your ocean and marine dumping. As we were discussing, that all the waste that is coming from our house or from the industries or from uh, other sources, sometimes the solid waste is getting dumped into the oceans or the marine life. So when such things happen, like you can see in the picture, in some countries this is practiced, that they take the uh, solid waste and they dump it into the water body. So what happens? Even in our case, we had seen, right, in many places, in many like areas, the people dump the waste into the water body. So in such a case, the waste will be dumped into the water body, and the water body will be like having all the waste, and the quality of the water will be degraded, thereby causing water pollution. Now the effects of polluted water on agriculture. What will be the effect on agriculture? You know that the wastewater and polluted water cannot be used for growing the crops, right? If you are going to use such water, then the crops will be contaminated, and then this uh, like contamination of the crops will lead to us like eating the same crops, which will be which will lead to some other diseases. Okay, so we consumers, even the farmers, will be like affected by this in one way or the other. The chemicals that is uh, added up in the soil, okay, so that also decreases the soil fertility on a long run. So that is one of the effect. Sewage and wastewater. Sewage, this is used for wastewater that often contains feces, urine, and laundry waste. That is the water, okay, the wastewater that has got feces, meaning the water coming from the toilet, okay, and the laundry waste, that is the water coming from the washing of the clothes. These are termed as the sewage. So what happens is that the sewage and wastewater produced by the houses, it needs to be treated chemically and released into the sea along with the fresh water. And the sewage water, it has got the harmful bacteria, because you know that it is coming out from our house, from our toilets and bathrooms, right? So this has got some harmful chemicals and also the harmful bacteria, which can cause serious health problems if not treated properly. So some of the pathogens are also coming out from the wastewater or the sewage. So you can see here in the picture how the sewage disposal is causing your water pollution. So it is released into the environment, into the water body directly without being treated. So your water is mixed with the detergents and all, it is mixed with your urine, it is mixed with your toilets and all. So this, when it is released directly, is obviously going to affect the water body. Domestic sewage is another topic. Now domestic sewage, you know that domestic sewage means the waste coming from our household, right? So it can be solid waste, it can be even your liquid waste. Now these are dumped into the water bodies directly in some cases. So what happens once the domestic waste are being dumped into the water body, then it is causing like there are lots of bacterias, viruses, microorganisms. So all these are like there in the water bodies. Okay, when the waste is being released so into the water body, all these organisms are there, thereby causing some waterborne diseases, and the infections can also spread. Okay, if such contaminated water is being consumed, then in such a case the people get the disease. We also have various waterborne infectious diseases in man. The viruses causes viral hepatitis, poliomyelitis. Bacteria causes cholera, typhoid, paratyphoid, dysentery, diarrhea. Protozoa leads to amoebiasis, giardiasis. Helminthes results in roundworm, hookworm, threadworm. That is why it is always said that we should wash our hands with soap and water properly every time, right? So that we don't get this waterborne diseases. But if the water that we are using is only contaminated, then we cannot like help out with it. Okay, we cannot prevent ourselves from this waterborne diseases. So here we are, we have seen all the causes of your water pollution and what are the after effects also we have seen. So this much we will do today, children, and in the next class we are going to move further with our chapter. Thank you, children.